Someone here, I think, misunderstood what I was saying. She wrote, Miss Marcia Weeks, with all due respect, do you believe you should be insinuating breaking windows, etc., as a woman of God, instead of leading the people in a peaceful demonstration to get the point across? Now, let me just say to
Marcia, pardon me, point to the chair. Marcia, pardon me if I may. Let me just briefly say something, because I know you are a godly woman. Let me just say this real quick. As you know, this is the thing with Christians, man, or people who are not Christians. When Christ said he gonna return, he said it's fire and brimstone, though. We passed the day of the white dove. So I'm not suggesting that anybody go breaking any windows. I'm sure Marcia did not suggest that in any way. But if you're going to use Christians and Christianity as a point of reference, Christ said when he returned, he's going to come up with fire and brimstone. That's not no peace, man. And the reality, the fact is, if we need to answer for the removal of the government, in fact, maybe we should be focusing on the removal of the government and not this particular one bill. That's my 2 cents, Marcia.
Yeah. Thank you, Emmanuel, because you guys know me very well. I do everything by the book. The police and I, we're good friends. They always compliment us on all of our protests. What I was saying was that if they keep pushing the people, if they keep pushing them, there is a subculture. You've got to open your eyes, guys. Open your eyes and see. And you know, I still try. Listen, I take the bus sometimes, Emmanuel. Our car was down for a while, and even when the car got back up, I still took the bus, because when you've got to connect with the people. And when you look at those people, Miss McLean, I think I told you, when you take the bus and you look in the eyes of those people, Mr. Caswell, it's not the same people that I saw when I came to Barbados 20-something years ago. Nobody can tell me it's the same. And that's what I'm saying. You have to be careful. They get up and they're doing things, and they're just doing things to people after a time. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying be careful. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. I know it's not Jamaica, and I said that for the entire program. Jamaicans will jump off the ledge and then don't know what's happened. Bajans going to sit down and calculate it, but let me tell you, Bajans going to jump off too. I don't believe Bajans are passive. But anyway, over to Mr. Franklyn, who has been there so quiet for so long. What do you say about the sick out? Is it something that we can leave here saying at least that's one thing that we can do, and then we can, plan hitting the streets, and Emmanuel is talking about education. We use the social media and our groups and whatever and continue to educate. Ms. McLean will put all the points of what we're the issues we have, we have the things we have issues with. What are your thoughts, Mr. Caswell Franklyn, before we close?
Well, I was one of the proponents of the sick-out thing, but what I'm going to tell you is that the people that should be more sick-out is the National Insurance staff, because they are going to take advantage of them. You see, in the public service, you have a disciplinary process where you go through a lot of tiers before they can get you out. But you don't have those tiers existing when you have a board. And even then, even though with the Employment Rights Act, when you get rid of someone, a lot of government departments don't respond to the Labor Department, don't respond to the tribunal, and it takes years. So National Insurance are the people that should start this sick out. Trust me, there should be their future is the most imperiled of all right now. But you said we were going to do some closing, so let me tell you what I want to say. You remember this government when it came in, when they were campaigning for office, this second election, they would say they're in safe hands with the Barbados Labour Party and everybody cares, that kind of nonsense. Well, if people believe that, I didn't, but if people believe that, what they're doing now shows that this government has lost all sense of decency. And if they ever had any conscience, they lost that too. What they are doing right now is to take away people's money, but keep theirs. They say we're in this together. Everything they open up, they say we're in this together. But I'm not seeing them losing anything. Not seeing them losing anything at all, right? They created this problem. National Insurance was on the way back up. But the actions taken by Owen Arthur, when he became Prime Minister, he realized the National Insurance scheme was in problems. And I was surprised when the Prime Minister said that when she became Prime Minister, she discovered that the National Insurance Scheme had these issues. Now, cut there. She wasn't in Africa's cabinet. I mean, she wasn't paying attention. I got the answer. So she knew. She knew very well. But even though she knew that the National Insurance Scheme could not afford to lose that $1 billion that they took up, and they call it, everybody listen haircut, National Insurance could not afford it. They did it anyway. Then they went and they wrote off a lot of debt that was owed to National Insurance for people who actually collected people's money, didn't pay in, and then you forgive them for it. Some of them were fathers of important people in Barbados, so you're gonna go after them. I don't say what's important people, but I see some smiles. I'm not saying anything because I got to protect Marcia and her show. But they did all of that. They imperiled the National Insurance Scheme by their own actions. And now, having imperiled the scheme, having taken the money out of the scheme and given it and donated it and do whatever they do to other people, when they shouldn't, because I said to you earlier that they were trustees of the money. The money was not theirs. It is not government money. National insurance funds are not government funds. But the government is the custodian and the trustee of that money. And you take, as a trustee, you take the money and you spend it how you shouldn't. An individual will go to jail for that. But you can't send jail a government. But they both have committed serious lapse of judgment. For a government behavior like this, they should not remain in office for 2 more days. They have sold us out. But having done so, they now expected us to fix it. You took my money that you borrowed from me and now telling me that I have to pay it back. You borrowed my money from me and now asking me to pay it back. And you have extended by 50% the amount of the time that I could qualify for national insurance. And while we're in this together, they didn't say, well, okay, but let's deal with ours too. Because you now will qualify in 14.4 years for national insurance pension. You should do it in 10. They used to qualify for their pension in 8 years, and they still qualify in 8 years. And you're asking me to sit down and allow you to do this to me all the time and say that make cares and that they're this together and all kind of nonsense. These people should go. I have no qualms about. I don't want a four-party government. I get too old for that kind of thing. But at the same time, we got a young, bright people out there who don't want to get into politics because the politics is a nasty game and they don't want to get into it. But so mind you, we have the people in the house right now that if they were not in the house, most of them would be unemployed. Couldn't find a job because they don't have any skills in anything. So they have to stay in there and they have to follow the leader. Because if they don't follow the leader, they will not be a minister and they will not be taking home these fantastic salaries in the Barbados setting that they're taking home now. And then they will qualify for their fantastic pensions from age 50 until they die. And not only that, the public servants lost their widows and children's pension in 1980. MPs have not lost theirs yet. The government repealed the widows and children because if you were a public officer and your wife, and you had a wife and young children and you die, there was a scheme in the public service, a contributory scheme to pay a pension to them. Government wiped it out and kept it for themselves. So this has been going on, and mind you, the Barbados Party did that too. This has been going on and on and on, and people do not know, either do not know or they don't care or they don't understand that these people are self-serving. But I think this should be the last straw. This should be the last straw. This should be the one that breaks the camel's back. Because look, you can't tell me that you have seen it fit to lower the pension age from 68 because 68 was too long. And I tell you something, we got people who are hanging on in the public service. We got a lot of public service departments make people sick. Unhealthy buildings, terrible bosses, and people get sick and they're waiting for retirement. Unless that changes under this new dispensation, people will still be getting sick earlier and wanted to come home, but they got to wait for 68. This government did not tell us that they were going to do all of these things that they're doing. That is what a manifesto is for. And if you're going to change everything that you didn't tell us you were going to change, it should be time for you to come back to the people. You know, that's what manifesto is about. If you look at the Westminster system, the government publishes a manifesto, and whichever party wins, the civil servants take the manifestos and start making plans. Not happening in Barbados. A plan comes up when the Prime Minister has a brain wave. That hearing brain. And then everybody rushes in to support what she is saying. Like she understands. She understands much. But she gets her way because, you know, I remember former minister in the Barbados, the party government, I was complaining that the MPs, the current MPs, didn't have any testicles. I didn't call them that. I called them the other word. And he said, no, they do have them. I said, they're not men. I said, they don't got no testicles. He said, no, they got them. Just like them got no hair on them. The little boys.
Oh, Lord. Oh, boy, Mr. Franklyn. This is a family show. All right, Mr. Franklyn, you know, somebody said, you know, listen to you, not that part, but listen to you, make them, let them wanted to cry. I think I saw that and I tried to put it up. You know, because she says, oh dear, listening to Caswell is making me cry. Because when you look back and you see all that has happened, really, you know, how we've been taken for a ride, you know, and it's sad. It is sad. Ms. McLean, what do you wanna say to us as we close? And I saw Mr. Clark came back in. I let him say something as well.
Okay, I want to start by I made a note while you were speaking, but I want to make a comment in relation to what Peter Earl put up there. And while he is saying is true, people may be out there walking up. The beautiful thing about the Marcy Week show, it does not disappear after it's finished for the evening or the afternoon, depending on when the show is there. So it is something that can be and should be shared with persons. I'm happy to see that you had over 500 persons watching. And I also want to incorporate something that was said by Emmanuel. Basically for me, and I think for those who might have joined the program late and not be sure what it was we were talking about, the introduction of two critical pieces of legislation on Friday, the 28th of July, was done in a manner that demonstrated gross disrespect to Barbadians. The notion, as spread about by the minister, that there was wide consultation with various stakeholders is not consistent with the haste with which the NIS amendment bill was introduced and debated. What the workers of Barbados need is full disclosure of what is proposed, how it is going to affect workers, because in relation to national insurance, it is the critical information about the change in qualification for the age of qualification, but it is also about the operations of national insurance. And therein lies the concern I think Emmanuel raised about privatization. Barbadians cannot forget why in 1967, after passing the legislation in 66, the national insurance scheme was set up. As one of the commercials says, it has been and will continue to be the lifeline for Barbadians. Private pensions and all of those things come and go. Insurance agents sell you all kinds of things, and when you think you know what you want, you do not know. I would say to Barbadians, do not talk about telling your employers not to before your deductions. It is a scheme that has responsibilities on the part of employees and employers. It is one of the best things that we could have done for the working class people in Barbados. However, and I will not go over what Caswell said. We know the issues of the funds over the years. In fact, as I listen to people try to rewrite history, I will tell people that if they want to understand in the last 15 to 20 years what has happened in National Insurance Fund, go and talk to the former directors. One of them is now a senior public officer, having been promoted into the direct public service, and find out what was done incorrectly. But the scheme is one that is beneficial. Tell us why you're changing it. Unfortunately, the minister himself confessed that in negotiations with the IMF, they have been pressured, this is my word, to make certain changes. The question I ask, therefore, is, are we really operating, when we see the government move like this, on a timetable or set a timeline set by the IMF, as opposed to looking to streamline a system that was introduced, as I said, to be a serious lifeline? What we need to have is a demand for answers, explanations, and revisiting of any elements that perhaps are not in the best interest. Bad decisions were taken on and as I repeat myself, Caswell gave us the details. Almost $2 billion written off is a significant amount of money in out of the fund, and it is part of a set of brash decisions that were taken. And I believe that we as Barbadians are owed better explanations. I endorse the whole issue of education. We in Barbados, Caswell and I come from the credit union movement. I would say 40 years. In my case, he would have been involved before. That has been another area, subject for another discussion, that people seem to want to put under pressure. It is about controlling the assets that belong to the people. If you think in terms of a single pool of resources that belong to the people, national insurance is one of those. And we therefore need to focus on righting anything that is wrong. But as Caswell said, if it is not broke, don't fix it. If it needs strengthening, if it needs greater improvements, fine. But from what I'm seeing, some of this would put resources, based on the limited discussion that I heard coming from spokespersons from the government of the day, will put this perhaps in greater jeopardy than it is. We need to have the people's money protected. And part of doing that is ensuring that we ourselves understand what are the implications for us and to be able to monitor and so on. But I am one to seek solutions. But Marcia knows me very well. And therefore, my first course is to ask the government to get to the people and let us know exactly. They didn't debate this bill. There was a statement made by the minister, and some comments made by the other minister, and neither bill would have been treated in a way that was required. And therefore, I think they need to go back to the drawing board, stick a pin, and come to the people to talk about what they're supposed to be doing, why, how, and with what effect. And until they do that, pass, because I will guarantee you, Marcia and colleagues, that when this bill is passed, and I say when on Wednesday, because once somebody put in thing there, they have the numbers. Passing the bill is one thing. Making the bill work, in other words, once you lift it off the paper and try to translate it into administering the piece of legislation, we will see the problems that will arise, whether it is about talking about the public servants specifically in relation to the pensions amendment, or whether we talk about whole national insurance. And it is critical that we find ways to ensure that what Emmanuel suggests, and I hope I'm citing you correctly, that there is perhaps a plan, not as covert as some people may want to think, that they'd have it, to privatize what is the significant, or should I say the only real significant pool of resources belonging to every Barbadian, particularly ordinary Barbadians. And so I think government owes us a lot more in terms of explanation, consultation, and the incorporation of inputs from the people, rather than some cursory drive-through parishes that they're consulting widely and cannot demonstrate to us where they have inserted the outcomes or the findings or whatever you want to call it, conclusions or ideas from those consultations. Because you negate all of that by coming on a Friday evening when Barbadians are looking to go to the supermarket because it's the end of the month party, prepare for 2 bank holidays and the next one to come, and do something like this and not even have sitting in Parliament, because I tell you, go and look at the optics, go and look at the videos and see what the optics are like. Not even having the representatives sit there to appear to be interested in a serious piece of legislation. That's my take, Marcia.
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLean. It's an honor to have you on, and I'm so happy. I know I'm going to, Winston, I know you're there. I just want to, those who took me on this evening and agreed to come on, Ms. McLean, and to Mr. Franklyn, thank you so much for what you added and the education for me, and I'm sure for everybody who's watching, and for Miss Lynette Eastman, who came on and just so brilliantly gave us that piece of history, which I loved it. Because it kind of put a lot of things in context, and Emmanuel for coming on and for the wisdom that he imparted and the push for educating. And I believe once Bajans are educated, they will move. Winston, you have the final word. So give us, share with us, and thank you, Winston, for jumping on as well. We so appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Marcia. All I'm going to say is that in asking the government to give us answers, I don't believe they will be forthcoming, because we need to be candid with ourselves, right? We know that in raising the age to 68 relative to pensions, that they're just playing for time, all right? They've taken the money from the NIS, and in a couple of years, if we do not put our hands down and stop them, it will be depleted. All right. And the only thing we can do is to take the necessary stand. Emmanuel said that they're going towards privatization. And this has been said, and the facts are there. It is going that way. All right. But we know, we need to take the necessary stand relevant to it. Because if we do not, nobody will be getting any pension. It will get to that. It will eventually get to that. Okay? And people will have worked for years for naught. All right? And I keep saying all the time that we need to, instead of reacting, to act. Okay? Instead of asking, we need to enforce. Because we are asking for what is rightfully ours. You know what I'm saying? We are asking for what is rightful us, and that's not the way it's supposed to be done. Okay, what is ours should be given to us. All right, and I know there are many different opinions relevant to what we should do, as far as to show our displeasure. Okay, but I will ask people, please, to get in contact with you, Marcia. All right, since they know your contact number, you can leave it.
And I would also say to Mr. Franklyn, can they reach out to your union as well, or to you as a person? Can you, if they want to do the sick out or they want more information?
They're already reaching out.
They're already reaching out. Very good.
And I'm saying some people telling me they're ready.
Yeah.
So some WhatsApp messages come through, but I was falling down looking at there just when you were talking. These were people that they're ready. So the people
they're ready. Okay.
Ready. Yeah,
so
ready.
I will defer to you, and I will pass all information to you, sir. And I'm sure Emmanuel will get information from his shows, and because he's been with a lot of people as well, Winston as well, and we, will gather the information. Okay, as we receive them. Yes, continue, Winston. You were closing.
No, I was saying I wanted to do that. I wanted to say that because I've been getting messages on my phone as it is right now. So I was trying to defer to you so that we can have yourself, Caswell, all right, and defer so that we can have a unified body as far as this is concerned. and a plan
Yes.
as far as to how to go ahead, all right? But
Yes.
it's time that we act as opposed to reacting, all right?
Yes,
And that's all
agree.
I have to say relative to it, all right? Thank you so much for
Yes.
having me on tonight.
Thank you,
Okay,
and it's
Marcia.
so good to have you and Emmanuel on. You were part of that first team that led that march, that walk, that really had the government. There was a large number of people on the street, and I just want to honor you yourself, Emmanuel, because it was a joint effort with Bongo Lights, Lumumba. I'm just calling names that I remember. I don't know all the names. If you're listening and you're a part of it, please forgive me. But I just call in the names I remember that you worked together to make that happen. And I see something else is going to be happening here again. Thanks to everybody for joining. You can bet we're going to be on again tomorrow at 7, because if we're doing something on Wednesday, we're going to keep this going until we got to get the word out. And I say, we will talk, Emmanuel, we will have a talk, and we need to use the social media. Use it and keep pushing it. Share this live, whatever Emmanuel does, whatever Winston does, or whomever has a platform. If you have a platform, use the platform. Use your Facebook page. Use your Instagram page. They can't stop you. Use it, because we cannot get into traditional media. They're not going to take this kind of thing. There's no brass tacks, to my knowledge, in the next 2 days. So we've got to push with social media. Those of you who are interested in the issue with Haiti, I'm going to be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock speaking to Haitians, because they're also dealing with some issues there where CARICOM is basically treating them like they're, as I put it, a bastard child. So they're coming on to talk about that and the impending, I'm using a word, they didn't use it, but I'm calling it the invasion into Haiti that they want to do. So we want to look at that and to see what is it that CARICOM is really saying to Haiti. So we have some Haitians coming on 9 o'clock tomorrow on CARICOM Day. Tomorrow we're going to be dealing with that, and we're going to be back on the Marcia Week show back on at 7. Emmanuel and I will have a chat, and we will discuss some things about how we can use our social media to continue to get the word out. Thank you, everybody. Share the live, guys. Share the live. This is serious business. We mean business. It was a call to action. All right? Call to action. God bless you all. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Good evening.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.